All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started with the webinar for today. 30 minutes left to the close. CCXI, what an interesting chart today, you know. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and I'm going to be using it exclusively for our newest video that's going to be coming out this week on trade planning and execution. There's just so many good examples of within this chart of just ways to plan your trade and properly execute, you know, in a way that you can eliminate the emotions, know what you're risking. And I'm going to get as deep into detail on that as I possibly can, because I think it's a very important area that it can really make or break people. I mean, you can think that you know trade planning, but it goes a lot deeper than just the surface of knowing where you're getting in and knowing where you're getting out. There's so much more to consider in terms of how much you're risking, where you're risking it, why you're getting in, where you're getting in. And then it kind of ties together with the strategies we use in terms of the charting and price action. So we'll start with the video on trade planning, and then next week I'm hoping to have a lot of great live examples for the long setups video that I'm going to do, and then we'll move on to the shorts. So I hope everyone had a good day today. It definitely wasn't an easy day, starting with SYNC this morning. Like I mentioned, you know, it was too crowded. You could tell pre-market that, and I kept saying that it was really crowded this morning, because it was. It becomes obvious when pre-market everyone's kind of chasing it up. And by the time the market opens, it was just too heavy to break that 88 level again. Unfortunately, there was no shorts here, so I didn't have a short on it, but as always, I would have been watching this lower high as an area, and that would have been, you know, probably a fairly easy one to nail if the shorts were there. So no shorts on SYNC, and you know, if it had held up and looked good for a long, it would have been a good trade, but it just wasn't there. Too crowded and no good. So that's SYNC. Let's see. Other than that, I mean, most of the focus today, I guess, has been on CCXI. So again, 440 over under has been a huge level on the stock, and you know, we usually mark the areas that we're watching on the stock right now between 440 and 480 are the two main levels. 440, you can see how we kind of came up here after the huge breakout. This area right here is probably where a lot of people got trapped, but just watching the tape, you could see I was pretty sure, you know, a lot of people were shorting even as early as 340 to 345. So to short an area like this isn't a bad idea. It is the front. I mean, it is the front side of the move, and I want to talk a little bit about that in this webinar. Actually, I'm going to talk a lot about that. But if you're shorting a move like this, and you have a plan, and you're going to cover half on the dip, and then if it comes back, you're going to cover the rest flat, then maybe okay. But if you don't have the discipline to stop out and to follow your trade plan, so again, going to be a lot of explanations pertaining to trade planning and execution in this video coming out tonight, or coming out this week that I'm starting tonight. But the people that get in big trouble, guys, on trades like this are the ones that get involved in a trade without a plan. So they short the front side, they have no plan. Maybe they have a plan, maybe they're going to stop 390, but then they don't. And then they add to it, and then they add again. And then next thing you know, I mean, you're just in a really bad situation. And I know I can tell by, you know, speaking with you guys that no one's doing anything like that here, which is great. It seems like we're kind of developing the right habits early on and getting the right mind frame in. Let's go back to just the rules that we follow, the ones that I follow and the ones that I recommend every single day that we follow. So not chasing, not over trading. JB's trade into the close today. Remember, long 49s. It's a great trade plan because, you know, he had 440s at his back, a clear stop out area. It's a low risk trade, you know. It looked like they trapped a bunch of shorts in here, which I'm sure they did. And then it was sort of testing that over under level there at 50, and he scooped it up. The plan was, you know, risk off 40s, give you like a 9-cent risk. And the potential reward, the way to look at this one is the potential reward on that trade is, you know, if it squeezes through 4 high a day, it's likely going 5+. So risking 9 cents to make 50 or 60. In this case, he did as we always do. You know, he scaled out some in the 60s, scaled out some in the 70s, and then held 1 quarter in case a home run was going to happen through 5. When it didn't, stop the rest out for a small gain of 55. So perfectly executed and planned trade, logical, risk reward, it was all there. I love the trade. So, but you guys know JB, this guy is like on point. He's always making good, sound decisions, logical, and he doesn't trade much. He's very much for like the less is more approach. And it really shows, you know, in the trades that he makes, they're very well calculated and very well managed positions. So there's a reason why he's my main trading partner. You know, he's a good guy, great trader, and I have a lot of respect for what he does. So moving forward, CCXI for tomorrow. Obviously, if this holds up, 440 is going to be a huge level. We'll be keeping that on watch for sure. To me, the pivot point in the stock, you know, if it gets under, I want to say 440, but to be safe, I'm going to say 430. If it reverses and then starts to like be toppish towards 430, 435 area, if we get under this 50 EMA tomorrow and we start to look like we're going to put in some backside, I'll probably try a short. But I wanted to talk a little bit about shorting the front side, because it's something that I don't really want to condone or recommend doing on the stream. It kind of goes against all of our risk management principles, and although I do it sometimes, I want to explain when I do it, sort of how I do it. I know that you guys have seen this a lot of times before on the stream, but I want to show you how it can go right, how it can go wrong, and what to do when it goes wrong. Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I was watching. You know, we're watching way back here where people were shorting into the 40s, right? Let's say that we were patient enough to wait for this big push here, and then we felt like this was going to be a lower high, and let's just say you shorted right here. Well, when it comes down, it kind of broke trend. You can see it's through the 90 EMA on the 1 minute, and it's kind of through it, and then it kind of held just above 60 here. Well, if you take off a 30-year trade right there just to make sure you get paid, that's always smart. Because, you know, keeping in mind, we're still on the front side of the move. On the 5-minute chart, we're still well above the 90 EMA. And when it comes back around, what I generally do, guys, is I'll just cover it. I'm out. You know, if it's not going to continue, if it's not going to continue with a lower high, there's no point in holding this. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in this move here. Here's another way where it can work, but then it doesn't, is, so, okay. A lot of time you'll see me do this. We're on the front side, and it's put in a nice peak like that. And then I'll be looking on the 1 minute chart. I'm usually using a 5-minute chart to look at everything, but when I'm looking for my entry, I'll switch to a 1 minute, and I'm looking for a lower high. In this case, there's a nice lower high at 440. I marked it right there. This is where sometimes I'll short, and I'll keep it fairly small to start and wait for the trend to develop before I add to it. But in this case, again, you know, it broke, held, and then I started putting in higher lows, higher lows. So there's no really spot to add here. I wouldn't be using anything in here to add. The way you want to be doing this is if you get it, and then it puts in the lower high and continues lower, then you're okay to start adding on pops using the 9 EMA as your guide, right? But it's another example of where you can kind of cut. So you short the lower high, you got a great position, maybe you cover a third down here to make sure you get paid. But as soon as you see this cup and handle long breakout coming, see this bull flag, you got the cup and handle breakout pattern, you got every reason to cover there, guys. There's no reason to still be holding that. So you do have to have the discipline to be able to stop out. I think it's always smart to lock in a little bit just to make sure you get paid, cover your commissions. But ultimately, you know, it's dangerous. It's not really a sound strategy. It's more of an advanced technique that I use sometimes, but you'll notice that I don't really condone it on the stream. So I more highly recommend focusing on, especially if you're a newer trader, focusing hard on the cup and handle setup that we talk about a lot, the continuation long patterns, 50 EMA plays, and momentum trades off the 9 EMA. Those are the trades that I really highly recommend. Those are the ones that mostly JB takes. But when it comes to shorting, I think that you can make a lot of good money shorting the backside of a trade, but the people that short the front side and they don't know how to stop out and they don't know how to properly plan and execute the trade, they just eat it so hard on trades like this. I mean, there's no question in my mind that hundreds of people blew their entire account on CCXI today. No question, guarantee it. The fact that every single person in this room had stayed safe, you know, not did anything crazy. It tells me that you guys are learning the right habits. You're developing properly early on. I was kind of bummed out that I wasn't able to nail a trade on this one today, but I kept getting messages from people, like specifically some newer traders that have been here for like a week or two, and they're kind of saying like how helpful the live stream has been for their trading and how they're looking at risk reward differently, they're looking at charts differently, and now they're thinking more like I think. They're thinking more against the herd instead of like acting out of emotion and chasing stocks. They're doing like what JB did here, where you buy into the selling pressure with a plan, have an idea, have a good risk reward scenario. That's the way to make money in this market. Trading with the herd, following the herd. And especially like, the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that you guys are making your own trade plans. You guys are taking what I'm saying. You'll take my watch list where I come in the morning and I explain exactly, what I'm looking at. These are the levels I'm watching. You guys know my general plan, but you trade your own plan. And that's developing you to be an independent and confident trader who's going to have longevity in the market. And as much as I was kind of like, I wish I had nailed a trade on this today, it kind of honestly made my day to get 3 or 4 different messages from people saying, hey, in 2 weeks, I've learned more with you in this group than I have off thousands of dollars of DVDs that I've bought and chat rooms I've been in for years. And hearing that, it really does make it worthwhile for all the work we put into this and what we're trying to do here. So I really appreciate it, guys. All the feedback, even good or bad, let me know. Because we're always trying to work to make this, the best possible environment for traders to develop good habits early on, to understand risk versus reward, and to make sound trading decisions. So far, the feedback's been incredible, and I really appreciate it. And it does make it worthwhile for all the the effort and hours put into this. So I'm really glad to hear it's working. And my goal is basically to make this the best trading community in the world. And I think that we're actually on track to do that. And it's only going to get better, guys. So CCXI for tomorrow, we're going to watch 440 over under, of course. 480 was the high from today. It is actually absorbing quite a bit of size here in the low 40s into the close. So it'll be interesting to see if this trades after hours, whether or not all the underwater shorts from 420 and back here even are going to want to hold this overnight, or if they're going to start covering into the close here. Either way, I'm going to hold off until tomorrow, and we'll make some good trade plans on this in the morning. And in the meantime, tonight, like I said, I'm going to work on our newest video, which is going to be for trade planning. And again, I'm going to go way into depth about how I watch over-under levels, how I use stops. So how I don't use hard stops, I use mental stops, why and how I use those. I'm going to get into a lot about just how I trade against the herd, trust my own decisions, and just make sure that every trade that you're making makes sense in terms of what you're risking versus what the reward is, and making sure that you're confident and comfortable with the amount of size that you're trading so that you can maximize your reward and not be emotional in the trade. So someone actually messaged me today and said that they've been trading for a while, and they had their best week ever the second week with us, which is amazing. It's amazing to hear that in just one short week, you can actually change the way that you see charts, change the way that you understand the way stocks move, and totally just start, getting on the right side of trades. Start understanding where it makes sense to risk and where it doesn't. And, especially understanding when it makes sense not to trade. You guys hear me talk about that a lot. Remember yesterday, and the day before? Remember the day before yesterday? Super slow all afternoon. So we're kind of sitting here sitting on our hands, and it feels like it's really slow. And then a trade came up on I always forget the name of the ticker, CMEX. And it was like 30 minutes left in the day, made the whole day on that one trade. The patience always pays. So knowing when not to trade just as important as knowing when to trade. And I'm going to also, be including that in our risk management and trade planning video this week. So just reviewing the tips for account building, guys. Not chasing, not over trading, using our method for knowing when to buy, when to sell, and what to risk. Less is more. 3 good trades a day is better than 10 mediocre trades. Look at JB, he makes 2-3 trades a day at the most, sometimes none. sometimes 1, sometimes 10. It just depends if the setups meet his criteria that day. He's a shining example for all of us, and I'm even learning from him every day too. I'm like, it makes sense. And sometimes when I'm like shorting something, he's like, he kind of gets me in check. He's like, well, why would you be shorting that? But we both have our own different styles and ideas, but they're both very effective. So he's a good guy to learn from as well, and to watch what he does. Not trading the lunchtime, that's just a rule I've always kind of stuck by. Not shorting the front side, right? Not shorting the front side. You'll know the backside is in when we break this pretty yellow line on the 5-minute chart. For now, it's still very much so the front side of the move. And again, the only exception I make to that sometimes is shorting a lower high with clear risk off high day. And again, I think that's a more advanced strategy that's not for everyone. And you should just leave it for now. Focus on what's working for you and stick to that. So everyone's got to find their niche. For some of you, it's going to be using the long setups. For some of you, it might be the shorts. But if something's not working for you, it means you need to change it. So if something's consistently not working, it's time to adjust. It's time to adapt, and it's time to change. Reach out to me, let me know, and we'll work together to make it work. Not averaging down on losers, that's just really, really goes to the core of the trade planning video that we're going to do tonight. So that's one thing that I've never done, never got into it. I don't understand how some people end up with like, a 405 average and they're sitting in it's like 480. I don't like to put myself through that kind of uncomfort situation. So for me, it's like I either nail the entry. If I'm looking for a lower high, I nail the entry. I have a plan. I stick to my plan. I stop out. If it works, then great. If it doesn't work, you don't even really get disappointed because you had a plan. You know the trade. You know the risk reward, and you executed your trade as per plan. So, for number 2, don't try to catch a falling knife. This is definitely one that I never. I think that early on in my trading, back in 2007, I used to try to catch bottoms on stocks like this. But if you want a great example of why not to do that, CCXI. Remember, it was just completely heavy yesterday, and it just wouldn't bounce. And I wanted so badly a retest, a nice pop to short it, but it just did not come. And this is a good example. When it's heavy, when there's huge selling, there's a reason. Trying to catch a bottom on this is like trying to catch a falling knife. You're bound to get cut. So it's not a strategy we condone, and it's not one that you should really be using in your trading, honestly. The only exception I make to that is occasionally I'll look for a stock to bottom out, and then once it's basing, if it puts in a higher low and starts to reclaim like that, I'll sometimes take a long, but it's still not a super high probability trade, and it's not one that I pay attention to very often. And number 3, we'll talk about that in the video tonight. But guys, I'm just really excited with how things are going so far. I'm really glad to hear that you guys are thinking differently, seeing things differently. How fast some of you guys are developing just in 2-3 short weeks. It's really been incredible. So I really appreciate the feedback, and I hope you guys are continuing to grow and just keep making smart decisions with your trading. Keep sticking to those trading rules. And if you find that you're struggling or slipping, go back to the How to Beat the Learning Curve video, which explains how to psychologically handle those losses, how to bounce yourself back into the zone, start small again, build it back up. It's trading is a long-term venture. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. You're not trying to get rich overnight. You're just trying to get yourself consistently profitable and comfortable with your trade planning and execution. And so far, I've been seeing a lot of great stuff from you guys, so keep it up. Going into tomorrow, we will be watching CCXI, 440 over under, of course, and 480 was, in my opinion, is going to be an important level to watch for tomorrow. Notice how, look, it's holding 440 again. That base, remember, that was the top here, then we broke through it. Cup and handle, look, here's a perfect cup and handle breakout pattern. Right there. See how I put in the high at 460, held the 420 over under, and then we came back, higher lows over 440, and then a nice breakout through highs there. So the 2 levels we'll be watching mainly tomorrow are going to be 440 and 480. I do think we're going to find a good trade or two in this tomorrow, and as we're getting close, like 8 minutes to the close here, and it's not breaking that support, I'm thinking this could get really interesting. So CCXI, ZIOP ended up fizzling off really nicely there with kind of a bear flag pattern. And you can see the clear backside here. Once it breaks that area, there's no more longs left in this. Once, we got high here, we got lower highs, lower highs. The only thing that was kind of annoying on this one, and I didn't trade it, and hopefully no one got caught, but that quick spike over 30 was kind of nasty before it finally sold off. ZIOP, unfortunately, it's about to get back all its gains, so it may not be a good watch for tomorrow, but we'll keep an eye on STEM, STEM, which also did the, pretty much a very similar pattern anyways to ZIOP, where, it tested high day and then put in a lower high, and then just kind of see that bear flag pattern again, where it just kind of wedges in and then fails. STEM. I made a couple good trades in STEM today. They were kind of tricky though. I did take that lower high on the front side. I did it quietly on my own, but yeah, this area right here, I shorted right there, and I covered some here, and then I had to get out the rest once it started to reclaim. So it's all about the proper trade planning, and that can be done, but it's a lot easier just to wait for the confirmed lower highs and then see that it's a nice trend here, and you can add to the winner and really make a nice profit on a trade like that. So there's that, and then SYNC didn't really stay too interesting here into the close today, but we'll probably keep it on watch just in case. So that's SYNC, still kind of holding the hourly chart there. So we'll keep an eye on it. Although it couldn't make it through that 380 level today, one way to look at this is it got higher lows here, and now we're coming up. And if it can hold higher lows again at 40 for maybe some consolidation tomorrow morning, and then if it starts to grind up in the late afternoon, maybe we'll find something on that with a proper intraday setup and a good risk reward scenario. So as usual, guys, we'll do live screen sharing. Starts at 9 a.m. I'll start going over the watch list and everything I'm watching pre-market at 9:10ish, 9:15, and then we'll have a good 5 minutes to get mentally prepared for the open, and then we'll just set ourselves up for a good day tomorrow. So thanks again, guys. As always, just let me know if you need anything, and I'm looking forward to having a good day tomorrow, guys. So have a good night, and we'll see you in the morning. Cheers.